layers of cobwebs are pulled from issue number 1, the Canadian Army Newsreel looks back to the beginnings of its history as it celebrates its 100th birthday. Since November 1942, its distribution has grown to cover a great area. Released every Friday, each edition is shown to service people wherever the Canadian Army is stationed. London audiences see its preview at 28 Pall Mall, CAFU headquarters. Copies are flown to the continent and to Canada. Army Public Relations Services distribute it in Germany and Holland to all units of the Canadian Army. During the days of action, it was shown right up in the front line. Now it is a feature of the screen bill at all camp theaters and leave centers. At the repat centers in the UK, special news theaters project the reel for Johnny Canuck on his way home. Even ships at sea carry the latest news graphically reproduced for Canadian servicemen by the CAFU. At production headquarters in London's Merton Park Studios, the film library checks and catalogs the stories which will be used in the Centennial edition. In the cutting room, the thousands of feet of film, which have been shot in various parts of the world, are edited and cut to order. During the years, the editors have handled the material photographed by over 50 sergeant cameramen. It is augmented by stories from Canada, Britain, and any other part of the globe where happenings interest Canadians. The editing staff work on the latest news stories for the 100th edition. While music and effects are added, the commentary is written by the producer. From the CMHQ Printing and Stationery Unit, the 100th anniversary playbills roll off the presses. The whole production is now in the can, ready for recording. So the Canadian Army Newsreel takes a bow as it puts to bed its 100th edition and gets busy on the production of issue number 101. To their home city of Montreal, the Black Watch of Canada returned to receive a grand ticker-tape welcome. The famous Royal Highland Regiment sustained the greatest number of casualties of any Canadian unit on the Western Front. In action from Normandy onwards, the lads with the red hackle suffered casualties amounting to 111 officers and 1,661 ORs. Parading down St. James Street, the financial district of the metropolis, the gratitude of a nation makes their homecoming a happy one. It's back to Civvy Street for the lads of another of the Dominion's great regiments, the Black Watch of Canada. At the Windsor, Ontario plant of the Ford Motor Company, over 20,000 workers are out on strike. A state of emergency is declared by Ontario's Attorney General as Royal Canadian Mounted Police and local provincial constabulary are rushed to the scene to maintain order. To protect the picket lines, the workers throw up a barricade of 2,000 cars, buses, and trucks around the plant. Cars are collected from all over town, and the radiators drained to avoid damage through freezing. Daily strike bulletins are issued by the United Automobile Workers Union as Labor Minister Humphrey Mitchell strives to arrive at a settlement. The police break up the auto barricade and tow the cars away to their owners. Negotiations continue, which are expected to end one of the biggest lockouts in Dominion history. The True Glory, the feature film story of the victorious Allied campaign on the Western Front, is given its Canadian premiere in Ottawa, Ontario. After a successful run in the United Kingdom and the USA, the film epic receives its first Dominion showing in the capital's Regiment Theatre. Much of the material used in its makeup was filmed in the field by service cameramen in the Canadian film units of the Canadian Navy, Army, and Air Force. Lieutenant General Folks and Defense Minister Abbott, together with Army, Navy, and Air Force officials and their friends, are the guests of honor on opening night. Canada warmly receives the film story of Allied endeavor, The True Glory. At Bad Oeynhaus in Germany, a quiet and impressive ceremony takes place. General de Verjus, GOC of the French Armored Division, bestows honors on Allied commanders. Each is given a degree in the high French award, the Legion of Honor. British General Hort, CB, DSO, MC, receives the degree of Commander, and his citation is read by the French General. The degree of Commander is also awarded Lieutenant General Simmons, CB, CBE, DSO, late OC 2 Canadian Corps, and now Commander Canadian Forces Netherlands. Major General Vokes, CB, DSO, MC, GOC 3rd Canadian Infantry Div, CAOF, receives the degree of Officer Legion of Honor. To Brigadier Johnson, CB, DSO, ED of 5 Canadian Armored Div, goes the degree of Chevalier. So France remembers those who played such an important role in her liberation. At Aldershot Command Stadium, over 5,000 service fans watch the kickoff by Major General Spry, which opens the game between the RCAF Flyers and the Army Rough Riders. The Pigeons whip into a terrific early lead with their end runs and open field play. The Groundhogs, skippered by Captain Archie Miller, put up a great scrap, but the Flyers relentlessly pile up the points. At the end of the first half, the top-heavy score is Flyers 12, Rough Riders 0. The CWAC band tried to encourage the Army team with a two-way serenade, but the outlook seems rather grim. Trotting out all their bag of tricks, the RCAF team try their best to make the tally look like a cricket score. However, in the last two periods, the Army stalwarts stiffen up, and the Airmen's onslaughts run into a stonewall defense. Both teams are captained by former Regina Rough Riders players. Flight Lieutenant Bob Walker is responsible for the Flyers' fast play. In the final 4 minutes of play, the Army team, in a last grand effort, score a touchdown and convert. They go down to defeat with the final tally, RCAF 12, Army 6. Headed by the band of the 48th Highlanders, Toronto's 42nd annual Santa Claus Parade thrills the kiddies of the Queen City. For the first time in 5 years, the show of shows uses gasoline-driven floats. All the colorful characters which go to make up the childhood classic of Mother Goose strut their stuff. From the old lady herself to the Jack-in-the-Box, all are on display for the toddlers' amusement. The cow who jumped over the moon is not yet running on atomic power, but he gets over the hurdles just the same. The dancing dollies come to town on the Toyland Express, which has been borrowed from the repatriation schedule for 1 day only. The little pig who built his house of brick should do well in Toronto. The housing shortage is bad enough. King Cole, the merry old soul, calls for his gunners 3. The fairy tale castle is supposed to be made of barley sugar and gingerbread, but confidentially, it's built out of old Spam tins and Blanco without the need of ration coupons. The Lone Ranger and Tonto ride herd with Sten guns. while the band of the Royal Regiment of Canada brings on the grand old gentleman himself, Old St. Nick. Just in from a non-stop flight from the North Pole, without a single termite in his whiskers, he's ready to get operational on the Christmas offensive. Now, if you've been a good little boy and stayed out of detention, S-Claus will see that your stocking is filled on Christmas Eve. But don't ask for the Mauritania or the Queen Elizabeth. They've already been spoken for.